Hey you. Hey you.
Hey, it's me.
Dark in here. It's dark in here. I gotta brighten.
How's
things
my
up a
lighting?
little bit. Looks good, man. You look good today.
Better than it was. Better than it used to be because of your expert advice.
Well, I adjusted it, and then I adjusted it just a few minutes ago when I was on waiting backstage, and it looked good on that one. Now that I'm in here, I can see it's like, this is better. I feel like it's better.
Yeah. Hello, Jess. Oh, okay. Jess is looking forward to today's episode. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint, Jess. Today's episode is going to be terrible.
Don't say that. Jess, you were commenting last week, so glad to have you back. We're excited to hear from you as well today, as well as everybody else listening out there. So again, I'm Zach. This is Jason. We are co-hosts of Hustle Machine Podcast. You can find that on the WINJECT network or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We also have a YouTube channel. You can check that out as well. We are also co-owners of Market House, which is a website development and marketing agency based out of good old Atlanta. And we have 20 plus years of marketing and website development experience. So we are talking about hustle culture on Hustle Machine. That's the whole premise of the show. And flipping it on its head, we are talking about redefining what hustle culture should look like, what's healthy, what's not healthy. And so that's what we are focusing on the show. And today specifically, we are talking about you don't aim at success. And Chris just put up there, if you looks like, what does it say? Looks like the comment was from YouTube a couple of hours ago. Say hello, Jess, if you are still watching. Okay, gotcha. Jess, if you're here, look at that. It is 8 a.m. Look at that. She was ahead of the game.
She's so
pumped. You know what?
She was in the waiting room for 2 hours.
But now she's quiet. So now I'm hoping that she's okay.
Maybe she's getting a cup of coffee. She'll be back with us. But yeah, so today's episode is kind of a deeper dive into the episode that launched this morning called Don't Aim at Success. And it's a little bit of like, not a whole book review, but like a section of a book that I'm reading. And it's a little bit of a review into some of the content that the author was talking about. We do like a little bit deeper dive, and then we connect it all up with a nice little bow to the world of hustle culture and toxic thinking and entrepreneurship and all that jazz. So long story short, I'm reading a book called Man's Search for Meaning.
There she is.
There you go. Trying to hide since I'm at work. Shh. I won't tell anybody.
Okay. We won't blast you out there in the world, Jess.
Yeah.
Your secret's safe with us.
Yep. So I'm reading a book. Newsflash. I'm reading a book for once. I'm reading a book. It's called Man's Search for Meaning. It's fantastic so far. It's by a Holocaust survivor, neurologist, psychologist, therapist, writer, philosopher, whatever. Viktor Frankl. Pretty awesome dude. And went through an intense experience at Auschwitz and several other concentration camps during World War II. And this book kind of came as a result of it. He wrote the book, I think, over the course of like 9 days, and that was it. Because he had it all living in his head. Anyway, so he got it all out, and in probably like the first third of the book, he's talking about just general life experiences. And in that, he has a line where he says, don't aim at success. Let me see. I think I have it pulled up here. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll just read a snippet of it.
You're just going to read this snippet of the snippet?
I'm going to read
a snippet? Read the snippet of the whole book?
Yeah. Okay. Everybody get ready. Because for the next 3
Jay
hours.
Wants to know the name of the book.
Man's Search for Meaning. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Okay, hold on a second. I was looking it up. So, don't aim. Yeah, here you go. Don't aim at success. The more you aim at it and make it a target, the more you are going to miss it. For success, like happiness, cannot be pursued; it must ensue, and it only does so as the unintended side effect of one's personal dedication to a cause greater than oneself, or as the byproduct of one's surrender to a person other than oneself. Happiness must happen, and the same holds for success. You have to let it happen by not caring about it. I want you to listen to that, to what your conscience commands you to do, and to go on and carry it out to the best of your knowledge. Then you will live to see that in the long run. And then he reiterates here, as if this was like, a quote, like as he's speaking. In the long run, I say, success will follow you precisely because you had forgotten to think about it. And so in this week's episode, we unpack that. And so I think we'll do like a little bit of a dive into what we talked about and maybe open it up to interpretation for other people, because I don't know. I really liked this. I really like this quote that he said. But yeah, so it's called Man's Search for Meaning. It's by Viktor Frankl. And the whole crux of this, I was reading it and I was like, man, that really like, it's really staying with me, because it says that to not search, like to not go towards success, like don't go towards happiness, go towards, that's the ultimate goal. No. But say it again.
Well, I was just saying, well, yeah, you are aiming for happiness in the sense that you're not looking for the success first,
right?
And then backtracking and trying to find the happiness is kind of what we were going after with this quote, is not looking at it and going, I think in the episode today that we released today, we speak specifically on how a lot of people will think something's going to make them happy.
Yeah.
Or we have got it ingrained in our mind, and we've been groomed as a child to just go after the money, right? To be
right.
That's what's going to deem success for you, is having the money, having the white picket fence, having the 2.25 kids, boy and a girl, a dog, a cat, like all of these things deem success, right? And
right.
that's what our society has said. That's what you have to do. And there's so many people who are miserable in their work because they realize this is not what I thought it was going to be.
Right. So one of the distinctions that I think we pull out in the episode is that, so let me rephrase it again, or it's don't aim at success. It must be happiness cannot be pursued. It must ensue. That's like the big thing he talks about. But I think the crux of it is that we all want to be happy. We all want that happiness that comes with success. We want to be successful. But I think that the big thing is that it's those things, success and happiness, are a result of a process. So it's like, don't lose sight of the process and the work that has to be done to result in the success and the results in the happiness, because it's an outcome, not a process. Like, you don't just wake up,
it's a byproduct,
and go, okay, let's work on the happiness today. No, it's like, okay, let's work on the business. Let's work on fulfilling customers' goals. Let's work on making sure that we can pay our staff. Let's make sure that we're hitting our quarterly objectives. And then, and we're speaking specifically in a business sense here, but like, let me make sure that the things get done that need to get done. Let me make sure that I'm fulfilling my team, that I'm fulfilling my customers, and then I'm fulfilling myself. And then that happiness will be there. That success will be there. But when you lose sight of all the steps that have to happen along the way, I think that's really sad, because one of the issues that we get into in the show is relational happiness. and we talk about all the things that have happened, not all things, but we talk about like the things that have happened and the people that we meet along the way, that if we had maybe had different focuses, and maybe we were so laser focused on trying to make happiness and success the be all end all, and lose sight of trying to develop relational wealth by meeting new people along the way and taking a beat and talking to somebody, rather than just gonna, I don't have time for you, I need to be Mr. Successful, then you miss out, because that's a huge part of your life, is the relationships that you build along the way. And when you lose sight of that and you burn bridges and you say, just screw it, I don't need you right now, I need to be successful, I think that's I think
it goes back to I think it goes back to kind of the origin story of us with Market House, with Hustle Machine, which led to, there was a comment that was made to us, and we referred to it several times on the show, is we met a very prominent figure in hustle culture, prominent in he's very well known. When we asked the question of, here's where we're at with the business, here's where we want to take it, what's your recommendations for us to go full time, and like what steps would you take? And he's like, you need to tell your significant others that your nights, your weekends, your holidays, no trips, none of those, sacrificing all of those things, family time, friend time, all of that stuff goes out the window for 2 years. And your main focus for those 2 years is just your business, and your head's down on that. And that's the only thing you think about. And you push and push and push and push.
Yeah.
And then you let off the throttle after 2 years once you've made it.
Yeah.
And I think about this quote now, and I think if we were to have done that, if me and you were to have done that, pushed family, friends, all that stuff to the side, and only focus on that for 2 years, that's the only thing we did, would we be happy at the end of it?
No, we would
and
we would be poor.
Well, you would be rich in one sense, but maybe poor in another sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you would be relationally poor. Like we would have crippled our family relationships to really sit down and say, listen, I need to focus on the business right now. So you and the kids are just going to have to like be cool with that. What? On what planet? For one, what planet would that exist where you could have that conversation and your spouse just be okay with it? Like, no, what? No, this is a partnership. This is a partnership, and everybody needs to be on board. And that just seems like that's asinine. And two, I think I sent you this video a while back. I saw an interview with a huge coaching business entrepreneur influencer. And he was in an interview, and the guy, I'm not going to say any names, but he was in an interview, and this young guy was interviewing him, and he seems like very starstruck. Like, it's like, oh, I can't believe I'm interviewing this guy. And was just really stupid with his responses. But when he was talking to him, this huge influencer business guru guy was like, yeah, he goes, oh shoot, do you remember what he said? It was something like, I told my wife that it's either I build a business or build this relationship, and I'm building this business right now, or something to that effect.
And then basically it was like, I think basically he also added in there, oh gosh, I keep saying he, but okay, screw it.
It's a dude.
Yeah. He making the comment like, if you're not on board with this, then see ya.
Yes, yeah. It was essentially like giving her an ultimatum. It was like the business or the marriage. And
right now it's business, and then if you're not on board, see ya.
Yeah. I was like, how can you do that to your to your relationship, to your marriage by throwing an ultimatum like that. But the whole crux of why we started this show, of why we started our business, is because we wanted to have, and we continue to want to have balance. Balance in our personal and business endeavors. And balance is not easy. It's not like you just go, you know what? I'm really having a hard time in this 9 to 5. I'm going to start my own business. And everything's just going to be gravy.
Well, you've seen those reels where it's like, tell me what it's like being a business owner. And it's like, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's crap or whatever. And then like, there's other ones where it's like the person's like just screaming, you know, because being an entrepreneur is very difficult. It's very tough. It's not an easy thing.
Right. But you know, when you do step aside, you do allow yourself greater opportunities to go do stuff. I mean, you and I are like, I've got to go do this today. And so, okay, you know, see you later.
Yeah.
But you know, I think it's, but that affords you, because we want to be successful, but success, there's a process to get there. Success is not the process. It's not like you just wake up and be like, hello, success, let's do it. You know, it's not like you just wake up and you're just like working success all day. You know, go on DoorDash and say, I will order some success today. and then it just shows up at your door like, hey, I got it.
I'm
okay.
Here. Yeah. But there's entitled people that believe that just because they are who they are, or who their family is, or anything like that. Success is just, it should be given to them. Like it's just part of the package of who they are. And it's like,
for sure.
I think there's a lot of entitlement these days about that.
Hey, Nina says hello. Shout out to Nina. What up, Nina? It's still early for you. Thanks for being on. Yes, success is not the process. I love that. Yes. Thank you. It's not all me. We're doing a deep dive into not only this week's episode, but into a book, if you're just joining us, called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, and general man, not just men. But it's a great book. I encourage everyone to read it. And it's a funny story, and we can continue on, but I don't know why I thought that I was, you know, dropping a bomb when I was talking to my dad the other night. My dad's a businessman. He is an ordained minister, super smart, brilliant guy. And I was talking to him the other night over the holiday, and I was like, man, I'm reading this great book. I was like, check out our podcast. It's coming out Wednesday. We do a deep dive into Man's Search for Meaning. My dad's like, love it. I've read it, I don't know, over 100 times. And I'm like, okay, that's just an exaggeration. But like, he starts like talking about literally everything in the book and like going into like this whole like deep dive, like we did, like 10 layers deeper than we could ever go. Just in like the philosophical meaning of all of it and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, wow, I'm out of my depth. Yes. So maybe we should have my dad on the show instead, but it's a great book. I was actually reading what was it? Chip Gaines. Chip Gaines has several books out, and I actually got onto the book as a result of reading one of his books. So what did it say? How to Happen podcast says success comes to those who are the most adaptable to change, in my opinion. Yeah. I can see that.
I think we're using rigidity the word success a lot. Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying rigidity is a roadblock to success.
Yeah. I think we're throwing the word success out a lot, and we talk about it on the show or in the episode today that just went out today. So if you haven't listened to it after this, don't go now. After this, go and listen to the podcast today. We dive a little bit deeper. Excuse me. But what I would say is we're throwing this word success out a lot. And I think that we kind of hit it on at the beginning. Who defines that success for you? Because I think you could, when we started Market House and we made our first sell, it was like $500. We talk about that as well. We were high-fiving each other. We felt successful. But in the world's view, of the whole thing would be like, you made $500. That's not that much, guys. Get back to it. That's $500.
Yeah.
But in our eyes, we felt like that was a success. And I think that a lot of times we get into this mindset that the success has to look like a cookie cutter stamp of what
success for you is success for me, success for her, success for them.
Yes, exactly. The
Yeah.
white picket fence, the whatever, like the big house and the fancy cars and the nice clothes and the nice watches and all of that stuff. They're successful. And where that could be accurate, I think the point of this comment is, just because you see on the outside they look successful doesn't mean that they're successful in all areas. It doesn't mean they're happy in all areas, and they could just be absolutely miserable, and those items help them feel better, to feel good, to feel happy. If I just go and buy this, then it will make me happy. Well, we all know once you buy something nice and shiny, it's fun for a little while, and then it wears off, and you're like,
Well,
not that.
I think that leads us back to Frankl's argument, is that instead of aiming at success, it needs to be, success and happiness need to be a byproduct of your overall search and development and growth. And with what he's talking about, it's really all about letting success and happiness become a byproduct of just putting in the work. Because when you are laser focused on success being everything that you're doing and happiness being everything that you're doing, it becomes all about you. It's all about you. And while it is good to feel happy and it is good to feel successful, try taking a beat. And that's what we're trying to do with this community, through Hustle Machine, is to take a beat and let it be about something bigger than yourself. Letting it be about the greater good. And I can't help but laugh about that, because there's a movie that talks about that greater good. Let it be about something more than yourself. Let it be about helping clients, and then that's happiness will come as a result of that. Helping other people. As far as success, it's not cookie cutter. It's not the same for you, and it's not the same for me. It's not the same for Nina and the How to Happen podcast, and Jay and Jess and Chris and everybody else who's watching. It's not the same for everybody. I was in a successful career. I've had successful careers in the past. I did very well in my business, worked my way up, and I wasn't happy. Like, I was happy doing the work and happy working with my coworkers, but I didn't feel successful because it wasn't mine. I didn't own it. I didn't own my wins. And that's something that we've talked about in the past, is having ownership of those wins and being able to own that joy. And I didn't have that. And that's what I wanted. And when we started our business, started feeling that. And then I actually felt successful.
Nina says here, I realized I missed so many precious moments with my kids when they were little because I was seeking success. And I think that right there is, I'm going to get to that one too, Chris, in a second. But I think what Nina said right there is one of the main reasons we started Hustle Machine. And the culture we've set within our company is so we don't miss out on those moments.
Right.
Even with our employees, it's family focused. And that should be where because at the end of the day, when you get to the end of your life, you don't go, man, look at all the work that I did. No one says that. No, they the last thing they want to see is their family.
Yeah.
That's where they
That's
want.
literally
That's who they want.
the crux of every movie, where every super successful person is dying and they're like, oh, I wish I had done all these other things instead.
Right. And the thing is, like, we say that we see that, we hear that, we know that, but a lot of us still go down that path knowing what you just said. You know what I mean? Like, we still know it, but we still do it anyway. And it's like, again, it's because we've been groomed as kids since we were little. That's what we see, and that's what we try to mimic. And so what Chris is saying was, just move the needle every day. Some days suck, some days are great. Win your day, then see how many times you can get winning days in a row. Compound effect. Whatever that win is, that's where you focus. Yes, exactly. Yeah, just focus on that. And then Nina says success is just so many different things. I measure it by how I focus on my family and the meaningful impact I have on people's lives. And that's really, honestly, I think that's what Frankl is saying here is if you're aiming for success, it's not that you can't find it, because plenty of people do. But success and happiness doesn't necessarily go hand in hand. It can, certainly can. But I think my challenge to anybody listening is define your success. Don't let the society or culture or what everybody else thinks is success, what it looks like. Don't let that run your life, because now you're living somebody else's dream. Now you're living somebody else's.
Okay, let's talk about that. So we talked for a little bit, I think, towards the end of the episode about living this perspective outside of business, personally, and like as like a parent.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point that you just made. So because success is different for everyone, I think it's important as a parent that you don't let your idea of success overshadow what your child's idea of success is. So say they're getting ready, they're in high school, they're thinking about what they want to do after. This is a very difficult thing to have, a situation to be in. It's a difficult conversation to have. My kids are still young, haven't had to have this conversation, but like, what are you going to do?
I had this conversation with their nieces.
What are you going to do after high school? Like, what do you want to do with your life? You have a whole life ahead of you. What do you want to do?
Yep.
And I think it's I think it's a hard conversation to have. Culturally, I think it's a hard conversation to have. Actually, no matter where you are, but I know that there's different cultures that have success wrapped up, at a cultural level as well.
Yes,
not just on a personal level, but like, if your kid if they're not cut out for college, or they don't want to go to college and they want to do something that maybe doesn't require a typical college degree, maybe it's a community college thing or a trade school thing.
Right.
We talked a little bit about Mike Rowe, personality. He had a TV show, Dirty Jobs. I look up to him a lot as Eagle Scout. Like, just there's a lot of things to admire about him, and he's very much kind of that common man voice in the world. And I pulled up a quote here while we were talking. He says, "We're lending money we don't have to kids who can't pay it back to educate them for jobs that don't exist anymore. I think that's a bad idea." And that's something he said probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And it's just getting
Still
at the
happening.
point, like, because success and going to college is not the same. Like, it's not necessarily the same. Like, I finished high school. I'm going to college, and then I'll be successful. I mean, that's not how it goes. Like, because college isn't for everybody. And I think that's a really tough conversation. And, maybe your parents' alma mater is not the college for you, or
Yeah.
maybe you want to do something and it's more important that you go to trade school, or maybe it's something that you started your own business while you were in high school and you don't even need to go to college, but maybe you want to take some business school classes, or you're going to take some online continued education. I am 100% a fan for continued education and higher learning,
Yeah.
and becoming better and training your brain
Agreed.
and continuing to learn. But I
Yeah.
think it's also important to note that it's not for everybody. And
Yeah.
as you said before, success is not a cookie cutter option that you're just punching out a mold and said, okay, here's Chris, this cookie cutter, this is his success. This is what it looks like. Okay, here's Nina. This is what her success looks like. Well, that looks a lot like Chris's. Yeah, okay, yes, because success is the same. No, false. Success is not the same for everyone. It happens on a personal level. And I think it's really important, and we discuss this on the show, is that you need to have those conversations with your kids. And if it's not your kids, it's like you with your nieces.
Well,
they're
we
going
do.
to school soon, and
My oldest is 7, and we already have those conversations with her now. We already have those conversations with her now, and anything she's interested in, like she was interested in baking, and she's like, I want to set up a bake stand. Okay, we took our hands off of it. And we said, okay, what do you think you'll need? She's like, well, I'll need a bake stand. Okay, and so I'll need to know how to bake. And I said, well, who could you ask? Who could you ask that knows how to bake? Well, both my grandmothers know how to bake, and yeah, you know what? I'll ask them. Perfect. Now, why don't you set up a time for them to come over and bake with you? Okay. And she sent the text out. She did everything, like to the point where she opened her first bake stand within an hour and a half. I mean, she had tons and tons. Like, I literally was like, I think she's gonna have a lot left over because there's a lot of stuff. She said, well, how can we tell people that they have it? So we created flyers. Like, I sat down with her, I designed it for her, and we took them and we printed them off. And then we drove in our car and we put them on every single mailbox because she said, let's put them on it. And she's the one who took the tape, put it on the thing, we didn't do it. She sold out within like an hour and a half. And we had a line of cars outside of our house of people like pulling up. And like one lady was like giving her tips, and like she said, here's for your marketing budget, here's for your baking supplies, here's just for you go do something fun with that. And and people were so excited to be on it. And we got done, and we sat around the dinner table that night, and she said, Dad, I need a website. Okay. So we put together a website, and she went further down that path. And then we went through all of that, right? She did the bake stand. She did the online sell. And then there was another holiday coming up, and we started talking to her about, like, maybe you should promote for the holiday. Is that something and she goes, I think I'm going to take a break. Okay. Take a break. Do you know what I mean? Like, and we let her just explore different things. And the same conversation we have with her nieces. They're going in their sophomore year of high school. And I had a question with them. Me and my wife we asked them, so what do you want to do? And they're like, I don't know. We're saving up for college. We're going to go to college. But okay. Do you know, like, I know you're just a sophomore, but do you have an idea what you want to do? No.
Yeah.
And it's so disheartening because to your point, I feel like the school system doesn't do a good job. Private, public, doesn't matter what it is, don't do a good job of, they're just focused on, you got to study this, you got to know your social studies, you got to know your science, you got to know this, you got to know that, you got to know this, you got to know that, and don't focus on the life skills to prep you for what you want to do, what do you enjoy. Like for myself, I remember I probably would have gone to a technical school. Honestly, I probably would have, but you know what drove me to go to a college is I thought, well, there's no girls that go to technical schools. Like, honestly, is what I thought. So I'm going to go to college instead.
Well, you were right, because didn't you meet your wife there?
Well, we met outside of college, but we ended up going to the same college. But
there you go.
That's what's so funny is, like, it's kind of embarrassing to say, but also at the same time, it's kind of like, I'm sure there's a lot of people that did the same
At
thing,
that
that had
time,
the same thought process.
at the time, that was Zach's search for meaning.
That was my search.
Girls.
Oh my word. Okay.
Yeah,
But the point I'm making is like, don't waste your time. Like, and I think the school, like, as parents, even if you're not a parent, you have people in your life that you can speak to. And if you don't, get involved in your community where you can speak into some of these kids and saying,
Right.
what do you want to do? And encourage them to go out and explore different things, try different things, shadow people, internship. All of those things will get them to where they go, this is what I love to do, and I want to do it.
Well, that whole thing that you're talking about right there, it just cycles back to exactly what we're talking about today. And it's not aiming at success and letting success become that byproduct that happens, and let happiness become a byproduct that happens when you're pouring into others and not just yourself. So like that lady who came to your daughter's bake sale and was like, congratulating her, telling her how she's doing a good job, giving her a tip for her marketing budget, telling her that this is delicious. Here, let's do into this. That lady created her own happiness by pouring her insights and her love and her pouring herself into, and that encouragement into your daughter. So she found happiness by pouring into someone else, right? Like, I'm sure that lady, it was the highlight of her day. I'm sure she left.
I'm sure
told somebody about it. She probably had a smile on her face after. Like, that is the kind of stuff that generates that happiness and success. So like, when you take a beat and stop being so self-centered and it being all about your own happiness, like when you stop that, like the rat race kind of thing, that like you're programmed into just being, I am number one. Like when you stop that and just start pouring into other people, that's when that you start to feel that success. Like when it becomes visceral, that happiness, it's like, oh, that's because of that. I think we had some comments come in. What was Chris's?
Well, speaking of that, exactly, that's what I was about to say. Speaking of pouring into this, so Chris says, what are some high income skills you would suggest to forge the listeners? Jumped. That would be good if someone starting out.
Mm-hmm.
I said it already, and I think Jason with his nickel on a blender did that. So I call it the Kermit the Frog. He's like,
yeah.
So the one thing I would suggest, and I've already said it, is there's a book that I'm reading right now by Ken Coleman called The Proximity Principle. And it's when you get around certain people.
Yeah.
Even if you like, our brains, especially in hustle culture, is what can I get from this person?
Yeah.
What can I gain from this person? And there's nothing wrong necessarily with trying to find something that you can gain from them, knowledge, whatever. But the proximity principle was, if you're wanting to learn to do something, get around the people who are doing it.
Right.
Get around those people, asking questions, learning from them. I think there's so much value on a resume to me that shows experience. Education, fine, great. In some worlds, some industries, that's needed, but experience. The experience is what I feel like speaks more volume to me, and what you've learned from your experience that says so much more to me than what you learned in school. Because I think there's skills that you learn in school for sure that you'll use. The experiences that you have outside of school are the things that propel you forward in your career.
Right.
And so if you want to learn, get around people who are doing it and ask a million questions, because you may think this is what's going to make me happy. This is what's going to make me, you may get into it and see that you don't want to do, I wanted to do audio engineering. And as I started to get into it, I was like, I don't really like this. I mean, I like some aspects of it, but for the most part, I don't like it. I don't like this. It's honestly it's sucking the joy out of it for me at this point.
Right.
Um,
I think that for one, that cycles back to that whole relational wealth that we've been talking about today is, the value of experiences that we have. A lot of those that you generate through networking. But I think that going one step higher is really developing communication skills, developing interpersonal communication skills, and really working at that. That's something that I don't naturally have. Like, I feel like I can turn it on because it's a learned thing. And I can, because our show is easy. I'm having a conversation with my friend, and that's easy.
Yep.
I can have
easy.
that. That's a combo. But like interpersonal communication with clients, like, making sure that everything that you say cycles back to like your core goal. Like, I'm trying to like make a sale here, and so I'm doing this, but I'm not being pushy. Like, I'm not. So it's not sales skills. I feel like that is maybe something important to have, but I don't think like it's as high of a skill as interpersonal communication. So being able to make a point, being able to be concise when making that point. So I think interpersonal communication would be like great classes, or a great avenue to go down if you're looking to develop a high worth skill in business. And
what Nina said is, and be willing to fail a lot. Failure is feedback and growth.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. That is a really good point, because I think that gets you to, that's part of the process, like you said earlier, is part of the process into getting to success or happiness, if you want to go down that road.
I got another one. Chris is what was his request earlier? It was high income skills. It's not going to be, it's going to sound frou-frou, but kindness is a skill. It's part of your personality that some people have, some people don't, but increasing your capacity for kindness is something that will serve you well, not only personally, but in your business endeavors. I endeavor with every business relationship to at least start, unless the person is just vile, is to try and be as kind as possible. I mean, there's just some people. I mean, just being real, like there's some people like you.
You're right. I'm laughing because we have dealt with that.
Yeah, I mean, some people are awful, and you just can't deal with them. But kindness is a massive skill that you can continue to develop, and I think one of those ways is to pour into other people, is to listen, is through those skills of interpersonal communication, by listening and developing relationships, and being genuine. I think those are all skills, because it's not like you're just born with like this massive set of skills. Like you're born a blank slate, right? Like you might have like the tendencies, proclivities, whatever, but like, at the end of the day, I think it's really important that you develop kindness. I think that's huge. Yeah,
I think it's a really good point, because I think that that it goes back to your interpersonal skills that you were talking about just a minute ago. Is being kind and being genuinely kind opens up a lot of doors. People remember that, especially when you treat somebody special, and you treat somebody as if they're the most important person in the room while you're talking to them.
Yeah.
It goes a long way. They remember you. They're more understanding if there's a trip up in the process that you're working with them. They're more understanding. They're more forgiving. They're more willing to broadcast you to more people. And Nina says, increasing your capacity to read the room, know your audience energy. Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly it.
I think for me personally, so I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert, and I have a hard time looking people in the eye when I'm having a conversation. But when I am looking at somebody in the eyes when I'm having a conversation, and they're returning the gaze, and they're engaging in eye contact, and we're having a conversation, and we are talking and discussing. I think that is the pinnacle of success, when you are able to talk and then they are listening back with their eyes. So they're actively listening, they're nodding their head, they're engaging with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a skill that you can develop. So when somebody's having a conversation, when somebody's trying to talk to you, give them a minute and just engage with them. Because it's very difficult. I know it's very difficult for me if I'm trying to talk to somebody and I'm actually like really trying to engage with you, and you like look off, or look down,
or
look
you're
away at your
or
phone,
you're on your phone,
or you're like leave the room. I literally, my train of thought will go because I have lost that connection. I've lost that focus. And that's a difficult thing for me. And that's something that I constantly deal with. But like when you're looking for skills to develop, for me, it's about that relational wealth. It's about connections. It's about communications. It's about kindness. It's about people. And those are skills that develop, like, as you said, and I think Chris might have said this before, but working, go back to that one before. I agree. Go and work for free as a side hustle from who you want to learn. So like going and learning by doing is sometimes a lot more valuable than just, sitting in a class and taking some extra stuff. Like actually learning while you're in that environment and growing from that. Going from guidance and having a mentor and stuff like that. I mean, those are huge, invaluable. It's that relational.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, it takes you. I mean, because Chris said at the end of that comment, I did that before and it led to so many opportunities. You're right.
Yeah.
It does. It leads to so many opportunities because, again, it's funny is when you said making eye contact when you're having a conversation. How many people have you talked to, and it's clear that they're uncomfortable that you're staring at them while they're talking? It's so funny.
Well, that's me. I don't like to make eye contact. It makes my stomach royal. Like it's just like,
but
like,
I don't know if that's necessarily an introvert thing. I think it's honestly because of the world we live in with technology and how easy it is just to communicate without having to you can type it. You can. You don't even have to look at anybody anymore. So interacting with somebody face to face becomes where it's like this uncomfortable, weird thing that happens that for some reason in our brains, it creates this uncomfortableness. So doing it intently is a good idea. Well, I think we've kind of talked about this. I think this is actually longer than our actual episode. We'll leave on that right there. Chris says rating your day is good as well. Of the following: happiness, health, peace of mind, prosperous, security, friends, relationship, and hope. Learned this from Zig Ziglar years ago. I had to put the emphasis on it.
Years.
Reminds me of that video.
Those are all great.
But
happiness and health, I think, are the biggest ones. Because when you're living that joy by turning your career or just having a side hustle, when you're living your joy through that, that success and the happiness will follow. So live your joy, pour into others, success will follow. So don't let that be the aim of everything. Let the aim be living a good life, building a good business, pouring into others.
Yeah. So
and go give your mom a hug.
For the shout out.
Go give your mom a hug.
Why just moms?
I don't know. Go give your dad a hug too. Go give someone a hug. Go give a stranger a hug. Don't do that.
It'll make them and make eye contact when you do.
I'm hugging you right now.
Oh, it may open.
If you get arrested, I'm not paying you back.
It may open up a lot of doors, so just be careful with that one.
Like, you never believe this guy just hugged me on the street. It was fantastic.
It was great. We made eye contact the whole time. How
Okay.
weird would that be? Anyways, all right, guys. Till next week, we will see you guys soon. Remember, go check out our episode and join the community at WINJECT. We would love to have you guys be a part of what we're doing here and what we're building, not just at WINJECT, but also with Hustle Machine, and join our community there as well. And again, till next week.
See you guys.
Later, skaters.